And James, would you please tell them why you invited me to address the subject? Because you attended my seminar, right? At
Yeah.
Wildwood.
Yes, that's right. He what was it, a month or two ago? He came to Wildwood and gave this seminar, and it was fantastic. Yeah, and I felt like, the values are lost sight of in our world for sure, in our church, and I think our ministries need to uphold them. So
I believe that because we live in a culture now that is really drifting into lying, dishonesty, extreme behavior of evil. And evil has been there always, from time of creation. But especially in these days, lying is normalized. People lie and do everything and like it's okay. It's not okay. And this reminds me of the time when God spoke to Noah and he said, people's wickedness wasn't just normal. Whatever people thought and imagined was continually evil. And what happened after that? There was a flood of water. And now prophetically, the Apostle Peter and Paul say before Jesus comes, people's behavior will become extremely evil. Another flood is coming. I'm not going to scare people. There'll be a flood of fire. The very elements will melt. But we have been giving a warning message of Christ coming since 1844. God gives plenty of time for people to enter the ark. And just like he told the people of his day, think of a hen that gathers her chicks under her wings. Please come and I'll cover you with my wings to avoid the flood of fire. And this reminds me of a story that I heard about a farmer who watched this mother hen with her chicks following her. Isn't it interesting? Jesus compared himself to a hen. I'd rather compare myself to an eagle. Even we use that in this culture to kind of demean people. Look at this man. He's just a chicken, meaning he's not brave. He's a coward. Jesus, to convey his point to us, he compared himself to a hen with chicks. Have you ever seen that? A hen, a duck with chicks following her. And so he said, I wish you would gather under my wings. So this farmer tells a story that a prairie fire whipped by high winds was coming behind this hen and her chicks. And she tried to run ahead of the storm and protect her chicks, but they're slow. We are slow. Jesus is quick, efficient, everything he does. But then, all of a sudden, this hen, using her maternal instincts, stopped because she knew instinctively the fire is going to consume her chicks. So she stopped, opened her wings, and all the chicks came under the wings. What a powerful example of Jesus' love and protection for us. And the fire came and whipped and scorched this hen and moved forward. And the farmer noticed after this happened, the hen was scorched to death, but the chicks came from under her wings, chirping, happy. And Jesus was scorched on the cross to protect all of us as he appealed to the people of Noah, come into the ark to be protected from flood of water, and now please come under my wings to be protected from the flood of fire. And it's interesting that in my retirement, I like to write books, as James mentioned. And so this book that we are going to talk about, Reviving Vanishing Virtues, and I have written a note, an autograph, and James is going to give you a book. Each person gets a book, okay? But then after I finished that book like 4 months ago, the Lord inspired me to write another book. I try to write books that are relevant to what's happening to us. And this latest book that we just finished editing, it should be printed and come out in about 2 months by the end of the year. And this is the title of it: Extreme End Time Evil. What does that mean? It means the great controversy between Christ and Satan is going to end. There is going to be a happy conclusion. Aren't you excited about that? I taught a course in world religions, and among the religions I taught was Hinduism. And you have this vicious cycle. They call it the wheel of samsara. Oh, things keep going on endlessly. Karma and samsara, the wheel that keeps turning around in vicious circles. No end to anything. But with Christ and God, the great controversy is going to end. There's going to be a happy conclusion. And so the title of the book is Extreme End Time Evil. The subheading, Cosmic Conflict Over Character. It's a great controversy. It's going to conclude. And the sign of that is not merely earthquakes, hurricanes, wars, rumors of wars, but also extreme people's behavior in evil. When I watch some hearings in the Senate or the House, people under oath, they swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God, and they go on lying with impunity, like it's normal. And they risk purging themselves, but they don't care. I mean, this is how things are, but there'll be an end to that. And I believe that in this wonderful organization, OCI, to teach our people old-fashioned values, to represent God, and to have integrity and truth and respect and genuineness and honesty. And that's what I do with my students. I feel, especially as Seventh-day Adventist institutions, I work with students, and we want to teach them more than biology, chemistry, history, even Bible. We need to infuse old-fashioned values in whatever we teach. For example, one of my students was a senior business major, engaged, ready to get married. And all my course requirements, I have this stipulation. When you read a book and give a book report, when you do a research paper, there's a statement there which says, I honestly and completely read this book, and this report reflects my report on reading the whole book. And then you sign your name to it. To help our students be honest. Because today, even students in our institutions are used to cheating. And so when I find somebody cheating, hey, by the way, you shouldn't be doing that. I tell them in my office. I don't want to expose them publicly. And they say to me, Dr. Samaan, you're so picky. Picky. You're so particular. Cheating? What's the big deal about that? Everybody cheats today. I said, yeah, but at the school we teach honesty. Yeah, but you're so particular about it. That's what he told me. I refuse to sign this. You cannot tell me to sign that. By the way, more and more I find out that students want to be the teachers. No, I'm still the teacher. I have a way of teaching. Please follow this plan. I want you to, why are you so particular? Because I want everybody to be honest. It's not enough to say I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. You got to be honest Seventh-day Adventist. It's not a good idea. We want to be Christ-like, and Christ was the truth and the way in the life. We want to follow Jesus. We want to help our students become Christ-like in everything they do. I said, look, let's not argue about this. Go and pray about it and think about it. And we'll talk in 2 days when you come back to class. Well, he saw me 2 days later. He said, Dr. Samaan, I am so glad you challenged me, because I went home and prayed about it. And I realized I learned to cheat when I was in elementary school. And it made life easy for me. I didn't have to study. I just developed very, very clever ways of cheating. And nobody could catch me. It's just my hobby. I'm so obsessed with cheating because I'm getting A's without having to work. But when you told me to think and pray about it, I realized I'm to get married in 3 months after I graduate. And I want to be honest with my wife. I want to be honest with my children. I want to be honest with in my business. So the Lord convicted me. Enough cheating, enough dishonesty. I want to be an honest businessman. Pray for me. And as we talked a few minutes longer, he decided to give his life to Jesus. So always stand up for integrity and truth. I mean, you would think that goes without saying, but today we have to emphasize again and again. I worked on all levels of the church. Church, conference, individual conference, seminary at Andrews, and now Southern. And so I know what's going on. I wish sometimes I don't know, but I know the inner workings of things in the church. We need to emphasize that more and more, because I've seen dishonesty. I've seen other things. We cannot be this way. How can we be prepared for Christ's second coming if we are not Christ-like and we don't follow these old-fashioned values? So that's the book you'll be receiving, will be about that. You notice I have an accent, right? Do you notice that? You think it's Southern or Midwestern or Eastern? What do you think is my accent about? It's Middle Eastern. I was born south of biblical city of Antioch, where the followers of Christ were called Christians for the first time. That's found in Acts 11:26. Now then, my parents became Seventh-day Adventists through the work of missionaries. Before they were Greek Orthodox. And they took pride in the fact that the Apostle Paul was their first missionary. He brought the gospel to Syria. He spent a year touring Syria and establishing churches. He had a special encounter with Jesus. Jesus was his professor. He said, I didn't learn the gospel from Peter or John. I learned from Jesus. He spent time with him south of the city of Damascus. So I come from that kind of culture. And so my parents became Seventh-day Adventists. I was born as a Seventh-day Adventist. And they took me to the church they built. Beautiful church overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. And government officials came, took some to prison, kicked people out, sealed the church not to be open again. You know how many years ago was that? Continued to be sealed. How many years ago? Well, I want to tell you, but I'm going to reveal my age. I was a baby going to church. It was 75 years ago. It's still closed. And the church is outlawed. That's one reason I fled the country, to come here, to this land of freedom and liberty. I hope we continue to be this way, But I think things are going to change. But in the meantime, let's take advantage of the freedom we have. Look, we are meeting here. They're meeting in the church. And no government officials come and kick us out. We're so blessed. Even though this country is having problems, it's still the best country in the world. And so, let's be thankful to God for the freedom we have. And here in North America, establishing a thriving network of flay ministries in every county of the world. And this one is North America, right? You represent North America. We still have freedom in this country. Ellen White said, the work we fail to do in times of peace, we'll have to do under the most forbidding circumstances. Now is the time. You're doing the right thing. I'd be honored if I could be a member of your organization, because I'm retired and my ministry is writing books, relevant books, helpful books, encouraging books, and I use my, what I call royalties, to help student missionaries, to help needy students. And my wife was born in Honduras, and so we use royalties from all my books to help children go to Adventist schools. And what happens is, when they come to Adventist schools, they learn about the gospel, the Advent message, they become baptized, and it helps their parents to follow suit. So, I don't know, is that you, James, here? Where is James? Oh, James is over there. So do you think with my description, you're the vice president, do you think I would qualify to be a part of the OCI ministry?
Yeah, we'd have to have a committee, analyze that a little bit more closely.
Oh, I see, okay.
But
Yeah, trust but verify. Okay, just check me out and make sure if I qualify. If I qualify, wonderful. If I don't, I'm humble enough to take it and move on with my life. No, I appreciate your ministry going around the world. And so my parents named me Philip because they wanted me to follow the example of Philip the evangelist. What a great example to follow. By the way, he followed the example of Jesus. Because when Jesus was baptized, the Bible tells us he was driven by the Spirit. And Philip was driven by the Spirit. We're all to be driven by the Spirit. And so where was Jesus driven? To the wilderness. To face the challenge of the great controversy again. And he won. And he launched his public ministry, driven by the Spirit. And Philip was driven by the Spirit, like Jesus, into the wilderness of Gaza. You hear a lot about Gaza. And he encountered providentially the Ethiopian who took the gospel to Ethiopia. Now, when I say driven by the Spirit, I think of something else driven. How many here drive a Toyota? You drive Toyota? It's a good car. We just got a car, a RAV. Not all the electronic stuff, it gets complicated. Just simple model. RAV4. White, brand new. My wife and I wouldn't want to drive it. Keep it in the garage to make sure it doesn't get damaged. Just keep it safe and look at it. Appreciate looking at it. Till I remind my wife, the slogan for Toyota is what? You should know if some of you drive Toyota. What's your slogan for Toyota? I just told you. I'm giving you a quiz right now. I just told you the slogan. When I mentioned Jesus was driven, Philip was driven. And so the slogan for Toyota is, we are driven. Right? Excuse me? You should know more about the car you buy. It's driven. We are driven. Now, what does it imply we're driven? I mean, it's not just a slogan. They have the plan to increase their sales. I think it implies the sole purpose for manufacturing Toyota cars is because they are cars that are driven. They do such a good job driven. And that's what they're here for. And that's what we're here for as followers of Christ. We're driven by the Spirit to do His work. And what's the second slogan for Toyota? After we are driven, they added something else to it. What? This is my wife, Shirley. How come she knows and you folks don't know? We go places. It's the most wonderful slogans for a car. Oh, Philip was driven by the Spirit and he went places. What places? Where the Holy Spirit led him providentially to be. Divine appointment with the Ethiopian. So you are driven by the Spirit and you go places throughout North America. That's what OCI is about. After all, it says outposts, different outposts here and there, as Ellen White described. So, first of all, we're driven by the Spirit, and then the Holy Spirit takes us places. My parents taught me many old-fashioned values. And, for example, some of the values taught me is to be honest. That's very important. To have respect. To have integrity. To be courteous. I thank my parents for that. And when I visit people, when I get Bible studies, I discover there's something wrong. And somebody tells me, well, Dr. Samaan, don't be surprised. We all lie. We all lie. That's how we live our lives. That's how we get along. So don't be surprised. We learn to lie from time we're children. And so then I have to pause giving Bible studies about the Sabbath and the sanctuary message and the 2300 days and say, okay, let's have some Bible studies in instilling some old-fashioned values. That's a good Bible study, isn't it? And so they taught me this text that's very pivotal in my life, found in John 14:6, which says, as Jesus was addressing Thomas, he said, Thomas, I'm the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. All we want to do is we want to walk with Jesus the way. As we walk with Him, He teaches the truth. And the truth leads to eternal life. That's a sequence of these three tremendous virtues. I'm the way. You've got to find the way. The way is Jesus. And as He walks with us, He talks with us along life's narrow way, leading to the kingdom. And another virtue they taught me is to pray, to witness. That's what OCI is about, to help people to be spiritual, to be in connection with God. And the first speaker, I think his name was Chad, that's what the emphasis was about. We can't go anywhere without praying. And Jesus, in His wisdom, combined prayer with witnessing. Remember what He said? He said, the harvest is ripe. The harvest is plentiful. But the laborers are few. Do you believe the harvest is plentiful? Yes. Now, some people tell me, no, I don't see it anywhere. People are resistant to the gospel. But Ellen White said, people everywhere you go are wistfully looking for something the world cannot give them. So what is the problem then? Oh, we need to use Christ's approach in providing a conducive environment in which people feel loved and safe being around us. And they tell you that they need the gospel. I know of some Adventist churches, big churches, they must have a lot of money, and they they do demographic studies. You know what demographic studies is about? Oh, you study your area, your town, and ask people in surveys if they need the gospel. You know what I tell people who do that? I say, save your money, give it to the poor, donate to OCI. But why are you doing something or that Jesus knows? Jesus doesn't need to give surveys. Jesus doesn't need to go through a study. He looks directly at people's hearts. Everywhere you go. And he says, this is the result of my research. The harvest is ripe. The harvest is plentiful. So what's the problem? The problem is the laborers. What do you mean? I need more of them. I tell you something. I go to the wellness center at Southern Adventist University for my health, to help me be fit at my age. And every day I go there, I pray, Lord, the harvest is ripe. I see these professionals. These are not Seventh-day Adventists. Maybe they're not even Christians. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, graphic designers, dentists. They have membership in the wellness center at our university. And just give you one example. Tried to be nice to this lawyer, and her husband is a medical doctor. Be friendly. Be sociable. And now they ask me, right? We're swimming in the pool. That's not a very good place to give a Bible study. But you can give Bible study as you're driven by the Spirit. It was a providential appointment. Said, you know, we've been coming to this place for 4 years, and we don't feel comfortable asking any Adventist, why you people keep the Sabbath? But with you, Dr. Samaan, with you, we feel cozy. We feel at home because you made friends with us. Can you please tell us why you keep the Sabbath? And instead of rushing into it, oh, I'm glad, let me give you a whole. I said, by the way, you know, we're in the water now. I don't have my Bible with me. Do you really want a Bible study? Oh, yes. We want to know about the Sabbath. Well, let's see. There's a lot I could share, but maybe I could start one small thing. Of course, you believe in Jesus. You're Southern Baptist. Yeah, we believe in Jesus. And you know what Jesus said, that we follow him wherever he goes? Yes, we like to follow Jesus. We're born again Christians. Praise the Lord. We must be born again. Some Seventh-day Adventists know their names on the book, but they're not born again. But Jesus says, unless you're born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So they're born again, and they want to follow Jesus. That's a good start. I said, you know, I know that people are confused what day to keep. The Jews keep Saturday, Christians keep Sunday to honor Christ's resurrection, Muslims keep Friday, and some people, some Christians say it doesn't matter what day, as long as you decide on a day, Wednesday, every Wednesday. Yeah, it's confusing. I said, but won't that be something if we know which day Jesus kept? Oh yeah, I mean, that would be great. But he didn't keep any day. Well, let's find out in the Bible which day he kept. So we got outside in the hallway. I opened my pocket Bible, and there it says it was Jesus' custom to keep a particular day, the 7th day Sabbath. You mean Jesus kept the Sabbath? Yes. And it says in the Bible, yeah, I never heard of that before. Tell me more. What, isn't that Jewish? Well, Adam and Eve were not Jewish. God gave them to keep that day, that gift of that day in the Garden of Eden. But is it really special? I mean, doesn't any day, well, it's special to God. Where do you find it? Oh, in Genesis, it says Jesus kept it. So he kept it. And not only that, he blessed it. And not only that, he made it holy. Isn't it something special? If God rested on it and he blessed it, he made it holy. Doesn't it make a difference? Oh, yes, of course. I now have full-fledged Bible study. I have a captive audience, people like them. I don't have to make appointment. You know, sometimes you make appointments, see people at home to give Bible studies. and they miss the appointment. They're busy. People are busy. Here, they come to the wellness center, and I catch them while they're there. Because we're supposed to be fishers of men. Especially, I think about being a fisher of men because I'm in the swimming pool. And I know they are not real fish, but they are human fish. So my parents taught me this is a virtue, that to be driven by the Spirit and to go places. And then Jesus connected, witnessing, reaching out to the harvest that's plentiful. How did he connect to prayer? He said, therefore, pray that the Lord of the harvest would send forth laborers. There he connected witnessing with praying. And so I've written books on Christ's way to pray, how to pray like Jesus. I've written a book on Christ's method alone, how to witness like Jesus. Ellen White made the same connection. After she discussed Christ's method of witnessing, she said, if this method is combined with God's love and with prayer, it can never fail. Isn't that great? What a promise. So I want to share with you things I share with my students. The first one is how Jesus prays for us and with us. Many people tell me they don't think Jesus prays for us. Oh, my dad prays for me, my teacher, my friends, but Jesus doesn't. No, it's in the Bible. Jesus prayed for Peter. Simon, Simon, devil desired to have you, to sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith might not fail. Ellen White made a comment about that, and she said, Jesus is the same yesterday and today and forever. As he prayed for Peter, he prays for us today. And she added a very important detail, and she said, when he prays for us, he tailors his prayers to fit our particular needs and challenges. Isn't that something? When I'm teaching, I have a problem with a student. I have no idea how to help that student. And when I pray, thank you, Lord, for joining me. As you prayed for Peter, pray for me. Please tailor your prayer to give me wisdom to fit the particular challenge I'm facing. When I meet that student again, he already gives the answer. Clear. As OCI members, wouldn't that be awesome if we practice the fact that we're not praying by ourselves with our friends, but Jesus is joining us. It will empower our ministry. And then when people ask me to pray for them, this last week I had to pray for major problems we're facing, cancer and heart disease and all of that. This is what I tell them. You know, I thank you for inviting me to pray for your sick dad. He's really having a hard time. And to be honest with you, I evaluate my faith. We all have a measure of faith, right? I evaluate my faith. My faith, compared to Jesus' faith, is puny. Compared to Jesus' powerful faith, puny. And I want to grow my faith, so I decide before coming to your house, I would unite my puny faith with Jesus' powerful faith. And while I was at it praying, I examined my prayer life compared to Jesus' mighty prayers. Seemed to be measly in comparison. So I decided to join my measly prayers with Jesus' mighty prayers. So I'm not the only one praying for you. I invite Jesus to join me. We are together. Prayer was always meant to be a sacred, united venture with Jesus. And you know what happens when I say that in faith? Our faith experiences buoyancy. A prayer becomes more confident. Why do we have buoyancy and confidence? Because we're united with Jesus. So this is how I describe it, how Jesus prays for us as our prayer partner. He prays for us, and I call the 4 P's of prayer. He prays for us personally by name. He prays for us passionately with strong emotion. Like Paul said in Hebrews, he prays with vehement cries and tears, passionately. Even Jesus weeps for us. And number 3, he prays for us powerfully. Powerfully. We're just a trickle of water of prayer. And he is the mighty Amazon river of prayer. And all we do is take our trickle of water of prayer and plunge it in the mighty flow of the Amazon river. Go with the flow. Go with the flow of Jesus' prayers. It makes a big difference. And then I have the last P is he prays for us perpetually, continuously. He doesn't give up on us. And there are some prayer requests you've been praying about for years. Don't give up. God doesn't give up. You're praying with Jesus. And if Jesus doesn't give up, you don't have to give up. And I call the 4 S's of Jesus teaching us how to witness like him. There's no greater example. I met an evangelist, an Adventist evangelist. I won't say his name, no. Very successful. He says, oh my, I baptized so many people because I have such a wonderful method of evangelism and witnessing. And he began to wax eloquent about it. So after a while, I just saw him privately and I said, I appreciate your presentation. Praise God, you're winning so many souls. Have you ever thought about Christ's method of witnessing? He said, what is that? You know, Ministry of Healing, page 143, Ellen White says, the great need of the world today is for Christ to be revealed in our lives. And how was he revealed? Well, he mingled with people. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Oh, I said, well, you know, your method is wonderful, but you mind if I tell you Christ's method better than your method? I mean, come on now. Christ is the best. The best thing we can do, the wisest thing we can do is follow him. So I'm going to give you 4 S's of how Jesus wants us to witness for him. This is what my parents taught me. I left home when I was a teenager. I never was allowed to go back. But yet these values he instilled in me linger with me till this day. What we teach our children can affect their whole lives. And so these are the 4 S's. The first thing we do is socialize with people. Okay? You can write this down if you want. But I'm not going to give you a quiz, okay? Just relax, enjoy learning. I might give you a quiz, verbal quiz in a moment. So socialize. Oh, to be sociable is such a powerful experience. I think I told my wife the other day, you know, I came to this country, I was shy, awkward, inhibited. The Lord taught me to be sociable. I wouldn't have accomplished anything in my life without being sociable. Ellen White, it's a powerful experience for Seventh-day Adventists to be the most sociable people. And we have nothing to apologize for. We follow the Bible. We follow health. I mean, like, we believe in religious freedom, freedom of conscience. I never had to apologize to the doctor and the doctor and the lawyer about the Sabbath. It's all in the Bible. They have to find reasons why keeping Sunday is not in the Bible. And there are hundreds of references to keep the 70th Sabbath holy. No reference to keep Sunday holy. So it should be obvious, and we should feel thankful we are people of the book. And so the first S is to socialize. Did Jesus socialize, by the way?
Yes.
Was he a sociable person? You know, some pastors I know, maybe some professors I know, they don't like to socialize. They just like to sit in their office. If you need me, come to see me. Jesus went after the lost sheep, didn't he? Did he say, oh, sheep, if you need me, you come where I am? No. The lost coin, you search for the lost coin. These are people who are in the church but don't know they're lost. To socialize. Some pastors I know in our church, as I travel North America, they say, well, Dr. Samaan, I don't give any Bible studies. You know why? Because my gift is preaching. I spend the whole week getting my sermon ready. You're a shepherd of the flock. Well, I don't like to mingle with the sheep. They smell. And also they have problems. They're high maintenance people. To Jesus, nobody is high maintenance. And remember, you're not pastoring by yourself. As a shepherd of the flock, you're pastoring under the supervision of the great shepherd. You do it together. You pray together. You pastor together. You lead together. You evangelize together. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I don't think of it that way. I think I'm all by myself. No, no. If you don't like the sheep, maybe you shouldn't be a shepherd. Does that make sense? Like a lady, very nice, godly lady, teaching elementary school. And she would get very impatient and upset and angry with the kids when they made noise. In America, what do you expect the kids to do? They want to test your patience. She said, I'm miserable. The kids don't like me. I don't like myself. Their parents criticize me. I said, what gift has God given you? She said, I enjoy being like an office manager. Well, let's pray about that. And she got a job being an office manager, and she's very happy. She's happy with herself. Her boss is happy. Clients are happy. God can use most effectively if you practice what God has given you. Not everybody has to be a pastor. So, Jesus socialized. Give you an example. I want to make it real. I want to make it biblical, Christ-centered. Did he socialize with Zacchaeus? Did Zacchaeus, as a sheep, did he smell? I mean, in a figurative sense. Did he smell? Yeah. He was hated, despised, because he not only charged the taxes for the Roman authorities. Roman gave him the authority to collect as much as he wanted. Can you imagine, after you pay your taxes on April 15, and you see, that's it? The government empowers certain agents with military power to steal from you 3-4 times more. He was hated and despised. But he heard something about Jesus. Jesus was kind, loving, and forgiving. So he hid in the sycamore tree ahead of time, so nobody would see him. The crowd would jeer him and reject him. And Jesus, whenever you attempt to see Jesus, he meets you more than halfway. And now, in the midst of the crowd, around the sycamore tree, he said, Zacchaeus. He mentioned his name. That's why it helps me as a professor to memorize the names of my students. Zacchaeus, come down. Before all these people, they hate me. Oh no, I am on your side. Stand by me. And if the King of Kings and Lord of Lords is your friend, you're okay. At the end, when Jesus comes, it doesn't matter how many friends you have. It only matters if Jesus is your friend. Come and stand by me. I want to be your friend. What else did he say to him in being sociable? Sociable. Some people tell me, he said, one of these days we'll get together, go to your house. It will be nice. Like some people say today. We invite a lot of people. We're Middle Eastern people. We practice hospitality. But many people are not necessarily used to that. And they say, oh, it was such a wonderful visit with you. And we invite people just one family at a time. It would be so nice to get together someday. It would be nice someday. But often that day doesn't come. Now, don't give me a lot of invitations after I finish my sermon here. I'm telling you reality. It's, you know. And so he told Zacchaeus what? He said, and I just looked at it in the Greek. Specifically, it says, I must come to your house today. Isn't that interesting? I must come to your house one of these days, today. In the culture I was born in, Middle Eastern culture, Christ culture, you only invite yourself to somebody's house for a meal if you're a close family member. It wasn't just for a meal, you stay overnight. And so Jesus was socializing with Zacchaeus to the extent he was saying to him, I want to be your friend and I want to be your brother. And the life of Zacchaeus and all his household was transformed. And Jesus said at the end, salvation has come to this household. So that's the first S, socializing. To socialize, that's powerful. It opens many doors. What's the second S? To sympathize. The reason you can sympathize because you know that person and you know the needs that person faces. What kind of clock do you have here? Oh, it was 10:06. You people are so generous with your time. Oh my, I can talk about this for days. This is good. 10:06. And we have till 10:45. Oh, I feel so encouraged. I feel I'm just energized. Because often, if I'm flown somewhere in my life, and there are so many preliminaries in the church. By the way, today are many preliminaries. Did you notice? I was in a church, they had 9 songs, 9 hymns. And the person who told the children's story took about 15 minutes. And people, after they pay my expenses, the pastor looks at me and said, Dr. Samaan, make it sweet and short. Make it sweet and short. Because you see, it's already 1 o'clock. By the way, as Seventh-day Adventists belonging to Protestant tradition, not Catholic, what's the center of worship? The preaching of the word. You understand that? That's a priority. That's why we have the pulpit in the central place. You got to feed people from the word. Singing is good. It's good, nothing, but do it in moderation. Don't take all the time to sing and nothing to the preaching of the word. In fact, I think the devil works it out that way, and the disguise of wonderful music to deprive people from hearing the word, from being fed. Socialize, and then sympathize, and then serve, and the 4S is save. In that order. Socialize, sympathize, serve, and save. As Adventists, we often focus on serve programs. But the Savior of the world, Jesus, he socialized with him first. He was building up the environment for Zacchaeus to be saved. I'm not saying if you talk about programs, it doesn't work. It works. But we want the best way to work, following Christ's example. So now, usually the people who sit in the front are the A students. Would you agree with me?
No.
How come you're hesitant? I mean, like, do you agree with me? Yes or no? Well, then, if you don't, I'll go to my wife here. Are you an A student? No, my wife, by the way, I don't know if she wants me to tell you that. But, she got a master's degree, but she attended all my Bible class at Southern. Isn't that an honor? My wife decided to take classes with me. She thought I could teach her something. Isn't that wonderful when a wife thinks her husband can teach her something? And when it comes to the midterm exam, final exam, I say, I help my students get them ready. She said, no, don't help me. Help everybody, but don't help me. I want to get my grade honestly, without you helping me. I almost thought that she didn't accept grace. She wanted to be saved by legalism. I'll do it my way. I'll work hard to get my A. And believe it or not, she took all my classes, I think 8 of them, and she got straight A's. More than any other student. I hope it doesn't go to your head. I just had to share that. And so, if you don't have an answer for me, I'll ask James. He's right here. He's a good A student. So can you tell me the 4 S's in order how to witness like Jesus? You say, why are you looking back? I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. Oh, you want me to ask James? Okay, I'll ask James. James, what are these 4 S's? I'll give you socialize and then? Sympathize. Use the verb form. And then? Serve and then? Save. Okay. Now you should tell me that. Okay?
I'm writing.
No, you cannot look at your notes. This is a quiz. Go ahead, tell me what they are. Huh?
I don't speak English.
Oh, I don't speak English.
Spanish.
Do you speak Arabic?
Spanish.
Do you speak German?
Español.
Espanol. Okay, my wife speaks Spanish. Let me ask her. What socialize? How do you say it in Spanish?
Socializar, sí.
I thought you know Spanish. What about sympathize?
Simpatizar. Simpatizar.
How about serve?
Servir.
How about save?
Salvar.
Yeah, they all start with an S. This is good. Okay. Now, what about prayer? Praying like Jesus. The 4 P's. Jesus prays for us what? Personal. And then? Passion. And then? Powerful. And then? Let's be united Jesus in everything we do. Let me say this to you. Going back to Adventist education, because I'm an educator. I'm a pastor also. And how do you apply Christ's example in teaching? How do you do it? Or any kind of work you do? How does it work in the real life? Well, I'll take my hint from what Ellen White said in the book Education. She said, Adventist education, Christian education, is more than dispensing information. It's more than giving good lectures. It's the investment of our lives in our young people. Investing. How can you invest without socializing, without sympathizing? Even though I'm retired, I still go to the campus. I give Bible studies. I interact with students. I know many students, as if I'm continuing my ministry. Let me see something about respect. People really appreciate that. You showed me respect. You can't go very far without respecting people. Even if they are not Seventh-day Adventists, even if they are atheists, even if they are Catholics, show respect. Even if you don't agree with people, listen, learn from them. You meet a Muslim. What can you learn from a Muslim? Oh, you can always learn something. And you might think it's legalistic, that's okay. They pray 5 times a day. How many times do you pray a day? Many Adventist workers leave home without praying. We could learn something from anybody. Anyway, so respect. I'm going to tell you an experience about that. A pastor, an Adventist pastor, who graduated from Andrews University Theological Seminary, and he was my student. I counseled him and his wife. I dedicated his children. I was his mentor. I invest a lot in him. But you know, people reflect their culture. Our culture has changed. And so, his board voted to invite me to conduct a seminar at his church. We're excited to see you, Dr. Samaan. We're looking forward to your weekend coming here. And I was teaching at Southern. It was a few years ago. And he told me that 6 months before the appointment. And normally, about 5 weeks before the appointment, I make sure everything is okay. I called, no answer. I left a message, no answer. A few days later, I called again, no answer in the evening. Okay. So I text him, no answer. Text him again, no answer. Emailed him, no answer. Emailed again, no answer. Called the church secretary. I talked to her and I said, please tell him to call me. I want to make sure everything is okay. No answer. Another church invited me, 800 members, and they're going to use 400 of my books. And the church for my students was just about 95, 100. But I believe in keeping my commitment. I commit myself to them, I'm going to do it. No question about it. But they're really urging me, the big church, we need to. I said, no, I'm already committed. But in case the pastor changes his mind, we're here, ready for you. Well, I just 4 days before the weekend, I sent a text message to my student pastor. And I said, it's urgent, capital letters, it's urgent. Please, there's another church that wants me to come. And I can understand fully if you found some other speaker. Maybe the conference president called you and said he wants to speak. What can you say to the president? If that's the case, it's okay. We're still friends. Just tell me yes or no so I know what to decide. No answer. I sent the last urgent text message on Thursday, no answer. So I decided to go to the bigger church. And by the way, in that respect, I learned that the conference president called him and said, I want to come to your church that Sabbath for some reason. I didn't know that. And I went to the big church. We had a great time. God really blessed. A lot of people showed up. And I put that aside. But this student of mine, now a pastor, who invited me to come to a church and he would not respond to me, he happened to pass by Southern Adventist University. And, hi, Dr. Samaan, how are you? And we talked. He said, well, you have a moment to come to my office? Yes, of course. I said, after we talked about many pleasant things and good memories from the past, I said, I'm just curious about you. Mind if I ask me anything you want? I said, did you get all my messages? Yes, all of them. My texts, emails, phone calls, voicemail, I got everything. Oh yeah, there are about 12 of them, a dozen. I said, why do you ask me? Well, I just want to ask you, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Especially the last two where I said, it's urgent, I have another appointment, another invitation, please tell me yes or no. I said, please answer me, urgent. Yes or no, just one word. So I'm just curious, why didn't you? I don't normally push my way like that, but I was kind of taken aback. After all what I've done for this pastor, he won't even answer me yes or no, knowing I'm in a tight spot. You know what he said to me? I don't know if you believe this or not. He said, come on, Dr. Samaan. You know, that kind of rhymes together. Come on, Dr. Samaan. I thought if I ignored you enough, you would get the point. I guess you didn't. What do you think? Honestly, what do you think of that response? Do you believe it? I think that's disrespectful. Come on, Dr. Samaan. I thought if I ignored you enough, is our ministry to ignore people? If I ignored you enough, you would get the point, but I guess you didn't. So he was blaming me for not getting the point. So I didn't know how to answer. I said, well, next time you invite me, I'll make sure I get the point. And he thought, okay, that's wonderful, yeah, okay. To him, it was normal. I tell you, negative behavior is becoming normalized today. Why? Why can't we follow the values that Jesus taught us? So I have a whole chapter in the book you'll be receiving about respect. Respect. Then another thing is about a chapter about purity. Jesus wants us to be pure because impurity is very prevalent today. How shall I put it here? In other words, there has always been impurity. But pornography today is not regular pornography. It's extreme pornography. Extreme. You don't have to know about it, but in my teaching, counseling, I have to learn. Extreme. And that's exactly what Paul said to Timothy in 2 Timothy 3:1-5. He said, evil will become extreme in the last days before Jesus comes. How do you teach our young people to be pure? I mean, that sounds so strange today. Pure? Look at the media, social media. Pure? That sounds so old-fashioned, so non-existent. A theology major came to my office. He said, Dr. Samaan, I don't feel comfortable studying for the ministry because I'm addicted to pornography. It's a part of my being. I watched as a child. I can't help myself. I'm totally drawn into it. I can't find escape. I leave the classroom, I go to my room in the dorm, and the first thing I do, I turn it on, my screen, I see it. Help me, otherwise I'll drop out of the theology program. You know, I'm not a specialist in counseling people about these things. So the Lord impressed me with a thought. My good student, Johnny, you know something? What? I said, the women you're watching on the screen are somebody's mom, sisters. Yeah? Yes. I said, how would you feel if somebody was doing this to your sisters and your mother? He said, I would kill them. How dare they? I said, well, you're doing that. What will help me? I said, okay. When you go back to your room in the dorm, you have a picture of your mother and sisters? Yes, I do. I said, put that picture next to the screen. He said, well, it's as big as the screen. Put it next to it. Were you tempted to turn your laptop on to watch that? See what's going to happen. And I prayed for him. I said, God, empower him. He went to his room, and the first thing he did, he turned the pornography on. Oh, Dr. Samaan told me to put the picture. So he brought the picture of his mother and sisters, whom he loved very much. He put next to it, and he couldn't stand it. It killed him. So he turned the pornography off. I mean, maybe that's not the most sophisticated counsel, but it worked. Teaching our young people to appreciate purity. Because Jesus said in his Beatitude, blessed are the pure. Right? The pure in heart. For just to see God. And we read in our Bibles, be pure as your Father in heaven is pure. These things, when I talk about them, people think it's really hard. No, we need to be Christ-like because we await Jesus' second coming. I don't want to be too specific with this one, okay? At some Adventist institution in America. I was giving a seminar, I was teaching a class, whatever. And I made an appeal. And like 33 students came forward to give their lives to Jesus. One of them was a young lady. She talked to me afterwards. She said, you know, I'm only 18. And she happened to be very attractive physically. And a lot of guys went around me because I think I look nice. But I've given myself to Jesus. Jesus is my best friend. I give my heart to him first. I live at home with my parents. And my parents talk to me. These are Adventist parents. I won't tell you more about them. I want to make the point. And they said, sweetheart, you're so attractive. You could be Miss certain state. Physically, you're very attractive. And you're going to, we don't have children here. You're going to do it at some point. In the back of a car, behind a bush, hotel room, somewhere. You're going to do it. She said, no, I vowed to Jesus. I've given him my heart. I would stay pure until marriage. Oh, no, that's so old-fashioned. I mean, yeah, it's a good aspiration, but you're going to do it. So this is what we did. We have a guest room in the house. We just got new sheets, new pillows, dim lights. Whenever you feel the urge to do it, you can use our room under our roof to do it. She came to me and she said, Dr. Samaan, I have a problem with my parents. My parents, unfortunately, make it so easy for me to sin. Make it so easy for me to sin. Oh, my friends, parents should make it difficult for their kids to sin. Not easy. She had to fight against that. Fight. Please don't make it easy for me to sin. I don't want to sin. Oh, you're normal. Red-blooded American teenager. Excuse me? So what does it have to do with it? We're all, Americans are part of the human race. We want to follow Jesus. And Jesus' example transcends every culture. Doesn't mean if you're red-blooded, I don't know what else you can be. We're all red-blooded. Does it mean it justifies sinning? I'll never forget what she said. Dr. Samaan, the problem is my parents make it easy for me to sin. Something about integrity. You know, it comes from the word to be integrated, to be a part of the whole, for your life to be integrated, meaning things click together. You don't have different boxes. You know, this for God, this, no. It's all integrated. Our lives rotate around Jesus. I'm not mentioning any names purposely, it's online. And I was at a particular camping to speak every evening as a guest speaker. My wife and I were walking by the elders' room, and one pastor was to speak at 11 every day. And that was what? That was about 5 minutes to 11. And he and his wife were arguing. I don't feel like preaching because I don't believe in the Advent message anymore. It's an Adventist pastor. I don't know what to do. I mean, she said, well, sweetheart, my only advice to you, we still have 3-4 minutes. My only advice to you, go up and preach and fake it. F-A-K-E. Like we're about fake news, fake this, fake that. Go and fake it. Like you always do. Okay? Then I'll do it. Oh my. Not just fake it. Like you always do. Is there integrity in that? How can you live with your conscience? Faking it. Faking preaching. You don't believe it. Man, if you want to fake something, if you want to fake the news, but don't fake preaching the gospel, because God cannot be mocked. Okay? But I see that. And that's why I wrote this book, Reviving Vanishing Virtues, that you get a copy of. It should infuse everything we do in every ministry. By the way, I was looking at my notes here. I have some references. It's all in the Bible. The Bible is all, from Genesis to Revelation, about practicing godly, old-fashioned values. Everywhere. If we're the people of the book, we need to practice that and teach it. You know, I'm not necessarily talking to you as such. I'm talking to you so you can teach others. You can teach our younger generations, our younger professionals. I know people who work for ADRA around the world. It's not all honest. How can God bless us if there's no honesty and integrity? In the book, I have a section on integrity in relations. Integrity in having friends. By the way, have you lost any friends in your life? Friends you really trusted, you felt they'd be loyal to you, and they change on you? So there's a section on integrity in friendship. Sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. We ghost people. We have a problem in our society of being narcissists. Narcissism is very hard to cure. You focus on yourself, not others. Me. They used to call it decades ago the me generation. Me. Now we call it narcissism. You do your thing. Doesn't matter how people feel about it, how it affects other people. I don't know if you watched the Olympics in Paris a month ago or so. You know how it was concluded? An American singer chose a song. It was broadcast to the whole world. She sang the late Frank Sinatra's signature song. Do you know what it was? Well, I mean, you look like you are middle-aged at least. You remember. What was the song about? What was the song about? I did it my way. It doesn't matter. Our young people are taught it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, do it your way. But even Jesus himself, the perfect Jesus, said, I do it my Father's way. It's his will, not mine, be done. And now I meet well-meaning parents, Adventist parents who say, well, their kids can do anything they want. Why? Because they're free. But don't you want to guide them? No. If I guide them, they might turn against me. So you know what they're doing is wrong. Yes, but I can't say anything about it. If I do, they'll resent me. Why? Because we live in a culture that emphasizes doing it your way. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. And I researched that song, the words, and Frank Sinatra said, well, when I survey my life, all the experience I had in life, and it has been this way and the other way and whatever, but the final analysis, I did it my way. No, we should encourage people to do it Christ's way, because he is the way, the truth, and the life. I counsel young people who say, my parents don't love me anymore. What do you mean? Because they don't agree with me. Have you ever heard that? I know your parents, they're my students. They love you all their heart. No, they don't. Why not? Because they don't agree with me. Well, disagree with what? Well, I'm making the wrong decision. You admit you're making the wrong? Yes. And they don't agree with me. Isn't that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. If they love me, they agree with everything I do. They will agree with doing it my way. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And also, they say, I tell them, well, have you looked at the fifth commandment? By the way, many people, they don't know the fifth commandment. What is the fifth commandment? Honor your father and mother. By the way, honor your father and mother. Godly father and mother. I'm not talking about where is abuse involved when when you're going against God's commandment. No, I'm talking about normal, godly parents, and no parents are perfect. We all need God's help. Have you thought about that commandment? Honor your father and mother. Yes, but I saw a Christian counselor, and he helped me with that. How did he help him? Well, he said, if your parents don't agree with you, they're not honoring you. And if they don't honor you, you don't have to honor them. What a twisted way of interpreting the text. And I say to that young person seeking my counsel, did God love the children of Israel? Yes. Okay. If he loved the people of Israel, did he always agree with them? No. When they worship Allah, he didn't agree with them. You can love people without agreeing with them. You get to give them a model. You get to stand up for something. Oh, Dr. Samaan, don't tell me that because you're not God. I'm not claiming to be God. I'm just trying to follow God's example. Anyway, I wonder who is in charge of the taping of this? Are you? I want to share something. I don't want to be broadcasted, okay? About my ministry. So can you shut this off? I'm finished with my sermon.